Archangel Michael says this is about your mother. Your mother is in danger right now, and you have less time than you think. Something has been moving in her life silently, something you cannot see, but it has been watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike. Listen to me carefully. This is not a dream. This is not a coincidence. I was sent here for a reason, because if you skip this message, you will regret it for the rest of your life. A shadow has entered her path, a shadow that only you can stop. She has been carrying a burden she never told you about, a secret so heavy it could destroy her if it's revealed at the wrong time. And tonight, something will happen that will change everything between you and her. You think you have tomorrow, but you don't. You must hear what I'm about to tell you before the clock runs out, because once this hour passes, no prayer, no power, no miracle will be able to undo what's coming. This is not just a warning. This is the final call.
I need you to stop scrolling right now, because what I'm about to say is not for everyone. Archangel Michael says this is about your mother. And if you think this message is just another random video, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. The truth is, there is something you don't know, something she has been hiding from you, not because she wants to, but because she's trying to protect you. Right now, even as you hear my voice, there is a shadow circling around her. This shadow has been moving quietly for months, showing up in the smallest ways, in the unexplained calls she gets late at night, in the way her eyes suddenly look worried when she thinks no one is watching, in the way she has been praying more than usual, but saying nothing to anyone. You think she's fine. You think she's safe. But Archangel Michael has seen what is approaching, and it is not just danger, it is a trap. Something or someone is preparing to strike at the exact place she feels most secure. This message is not coming to you by accident. You are being chosen, yes, you, to stand in the gap for her. Because in the next few hours, an event will begin to unfold, an event that will test the bond between you and your mother. If you ignore this warning, you may lose the chance to protect her forever. Michael says, your mother's life is tied to your actions right now. I can see the danger. I can see the enemy. But I cannot force you to listen. The choice is yours. Don't take another breath thinking this is a coincidence, because by the time you finish watching this, it may already be too late.
Archangel Michael says, there is a reason you are hearing this now and not yesterday, not tomorrow, because something shifted in the last 24 hours, something that has set everything in motion. He says, I have seen the one who walks toward her, but she does not see him. At first, you might think this is about a stranger, but it is not always strangers who bring harm. Sometimes it is the ones we think we can trust. Over the past week, she has felt it, an uneasiness in her chest, a sudden coldness in the room when she's alone, the feeling that someone is watching her from the corner of the street. Twice she has dropped her keys because her hands were shaking. Twice she woke up in the middle of the night and could not explain the whisper she thought she heard. And last night there was a sign. A sudden gust of wind slammed the window shut, even though the air was still.
A picture frame of you fell to the floor, shattering the glass. She picked it up, but didn't tell you, because she knew something about this was not normal. Michael says the enemy wants her fear to grow, because fear opens the door. And that door is what you are meant to close. In the unseen realm, a countdown has already begun. Each hour you wait, the shadow draws closer. But here is what you need to know. The danger is not just physical, it is spiritual. There is an attack designed to break her hope, to steal her peace, and to pull her away from the very protection I am offering through you. And if you walk away from this warning, the enemy will believe you have surrendered without a fight. Michael says, I am standing between her and the shadow, but I need your voice, your prayer, and your faith to seal the gap. Without it, she will be exposed. Time is moving faster than you think. You have to act, and you have to act now.
Archangel Michael says, do you want to know who is behind this? You must understand the enemy never appears in the way you expect. It doesn't always come wearing a mask or holding a weapon. It comes disguised as an opportunity, as a friendly face, as a harmless moment, until it's too late. This shadow has been near your mother for longer than you realize. Michael says, I have watched him stand at the edge of her life, waiting for the perfect moment to step in. But now he is no longer waiting. In the last 3 days there have been signs, small, almost invisible, that point to his approach. First, the strange phone call that came late at night, where no one spoke on the other end, but she could hear faint breathing. Second, the letter she received but quickly hid away, her hands trembling as she read the first line. Third, the sudden visit from an old acquaintance she hadn't seen in years, who smiled too much, asked too many questions, and left without saying why they came. And you may have brushed these things off as nothing, but Michael says, in the spiritual realm, I can see the chains in his hands, chains he intends to use not on her body, but on her spirit, her mind, her peace. This is not just about harm, it's about control. It's about silencing her, taking away the light inside her so she feels too weak to fight back. The shadow has been studying her fears. He knows what keeps her awake at night. He knows what she regrets. He knows the one memory that still breaks her heart, and he will use it to weaken her. Michael warns, if this is not stopped, there will come a night where she will sit alone, believing there is no one left to fight for her. That is the night the shadow will strike fully. But here's the truth the enemy does not know. He does not have the final say, because right now, in this moment, you are hearing the warning. You are being told the signs before they reach their peak. Michael says, if you rise, if you pray, if you shield her now, the shadow will be blinded and its plan will crumble before it begins. This is why you are here. This is why you cannot ignore this message. You are not just her child. You are her protector, chosen for this very hour. And if you choose to stand, I will stand beside you.
Archangel Michael says, The countdown has already begun. You may not hear the ticking, but I do. Right now, the enemy believes your guard is down. He believes that because nothing has happened yet, you will keep delaying, keep doubting, keep scrolling past this warning. But every moment you wait, the shadow takes one more step closer to her door. Michael says, "From where I stand in the unseen realm, I can see the distance between them shrinking. I can see the hour it will happen. I can even see the way the air will shift when the shadow finally makes its move. And here is the truth that will chill you. There are less than 72 hours before the chain of events becomes unstoppable. But this is not just about hours on a clock. This is about choices. For each hour you act, the shadow is pushed back. For each hour you stay silent, it advances. And if it reaches her without you standing in the gap, you will not just lose time. You could lose her trust, her peace, her light, maybe even her life. Already strange disruptions have started. Her sleep has been restless. She has been forgetting small things. She has misplaced keys, and sometimes she feels she hears her name whispered when no one is there. These are not accidents. These are pressure points. The enemy is testing her spirit to see how far she can be pushed before she breaks. And in the exact moment she feels most alone, the strike will come. Michael says, "I am not showing you this to scare you. I am showing you this because it is still stoppable. You still have time, but the time is not much. Imagine the clock in front of you. Imagine the hands moving faster than normal, as if someone is spinning them forward. That is what I see. The enemy is in a hurry because your mother is closer than ever to a breakthrough, a blessing that would set her free completely. And if he can break her before she reaches it, he wins. That is why the attack is now. You are her shield, her wall, her unseen guardian in this moment. And Michael says, if you choose to rise now, heaven will surround her house. The shadow will find no entrance. But if you wait until you see the danger with your eyes, it will already be too late."
Archangel Michael says, "I have seen it. Not in pieces, not in fragments. I have seen the full moment when the shadow makes its move against your mother, and it is closer than you think." The vision came like a flash. 1 second the room was filled with light, and the next, darkness crept in like a living thing. It begins quietly. She is alone, sitting in a familiar place, maybe her bedroom, maybe the living room, somewhere she feels safe. The clock on the wall shows a time you will recognize instantly. And then the air changes. It's as if the temperature drops instantly, but there is no breeze, no open window. She feels something, a pressure, like invisible eyes staring at her. Michael says, in that moment, she will pause whatever she is doing. She will look toward the window, or the door, or the empty hallway, and she will not understand why her heart has started to beat so fast. And then it begins. A sound, so small, so faint, that she thinks she imagined it. A creak in the floorboards, a soft tap on the glass, a whisper of her name that doesn't sound like your voice, but something trying to imitate it. Her first instinct will be to brush it off, but the feeling in her chest will grow heavier, harder to ignore. Michael says, "In the vision, I saw her hands trembling. She stood, trying to convince herself it was nothing, but the shadow had already entered the room unseen. It will not appear in a physical form she can point to. It will come as a feeling, a thought, an overwhelming fear that paralyzes her. And this is where the danger reaches its peak, because if she accepts that fear, if she allows it to take root, the shadow will anchor itself to her spirit. It will whisper lies in her mind, telling her she is alone, telling her no one will help, telling her to give up. Michael says, "This is why you were warned before the moment comes. If you rise now, if you cover her in protection before this hour, the shadow will find the room sealed. It will come, but it will not enter. But if you delay, if you wait to see the danger with your eyes, the vision I have seen will become reality. In the vision, I saw two endings. In one, she stands in the same room, surrounded by light, her peace untouched. In the other, she sits in darkness, tears falling silently because the weight is too heavy for her to lift alone." Michael says, "Which ending will come depends on what you do in the next few hours."
Archangel Michael says, "I have seen it. Not in pieces, not in scattered glimpses, but in one unbroken vision, as if I stood inside the very moment it happens. I saw the full scene, the hour when the shadow moves against your mother, and it is closer than you think. It came to me like a sudden flash. One heartbeat, the room was drenched in warm light, and the next, darkness seeped in, not like the absence of light, but like a living thing crawling over the walls, the ceiling, the floor. It begins so quietly, so harmlessly, you would never believe it was the start of something dangerous. She is alone, sitting in a place she trusts, maybe her bedroom, maybe the living room, the place she spends evenings thinking she is safe. The clock on the wall ticks softly, and when you see the time, you will recognize it instantly. Then, without warning, the air changes. Not a wind, not a draft, a shift, sharp and sudden, as if the very atmosphere has been pulled tight. The temperature drops, but there is no open window, no explanation. She feels it before she understands it, a weight, a pressure, the kind you feel when someone is watching you from a place you cannot see. Michael says, in that moment she will stop, her body will freeze. Whatever she was doing, reading, thinking, writing, her hands will fall still. She will lift her head and glance toward the window, or the door, or the empty hallway. She will search for the source of this feeling, and her heart will beat harder in her chest without reason. And then it begins. A sound, so faint, so small, that she will tell herself she imagined it. A single creak in the floorboards, a soft tap on the glass, a whisper, her name, but not your voice, something trying to be your voice. Her mind will fight to explain it away. It's just the house settling. It's just my imagination. But the feeling in her chest will not loosen. It will grow heavier, more suffocating. Michael says, in the vision, I saw her hands tremble. She stood slowly, almost unwillingly, convincing herself it was nothing. But she did not see what I saw. By then the shadow had already crossed the threshold. It had entered the room, unseen. It will not show itself as a figure she can point to. It will not reach for her physically. It will come instead as a thought, a feeling, an invisible weight that presses against her mind until her courage begins to weaken. And this is the moment where the danger becomes deadly, because if she accepts that fear, if she lets it sit in her chest without fighting it, the shadow will root itself deep within her spirit. Once anchored, it will speak, not with a voice she hears in the air, but in the whispers of her own thoughts. You are alone. No one will help you. It's too late. Stop trying. It will wrap lies around her like chains, convincing her to surrender without a fight. Michael says, this is why you were told before the moment comes. Because if you rise now, if you cover her before this hour arrives, the shadow will find the room sealed. It may approach, it may circle, but it will not enter. But if you delay, if you wait until your own eyes see the danger, until the fear is already inside her, the vision I have seen will become reality. In that vision, I saw two endings. In one, she stands in the same room, but her posture is strong, her eyes clear, her heart at peace. Light fills the space, so bright that the shadow cannot remain. In the other, she sits in the dark, shoulders slumped, tears falling quietly down her face. The weight on her spirit is too heavy for her to lift alone. Michael says, which ending will happen depends on what you do in the next few hours. Not tomorrow, not later, now.
Before the shadow reaches her, you must speak life into her spirit. Not once, not casually. Every word you speak in the next hours must be chosen like a weapon. Tell her she is not alone. Tell her she is stronger than the fear trying to touch her. Remind her of the time she overcame what seemed impossible. Your words will become a shield inside her mind. When the shadow whispers its lies, my angels will bring back your voice to drown them out. Do not assume she already knows how much she means to you. Speak it, say it aloud. Look her in the eyes when you do. Truth that is spoken out loud has the power to drive out lies before they take root. The shadow will first try to come through the places she feels safe, her home, her room, the spaces where her guard is down. Walk through those spaces and cover them with protection. Speak light into every corner. Stand in the doorway of her room and pray. Stand by the windows and declare peace. The air itself will shift when you do. The enemy will sense the barrier and will hesitate to cross it. Michael's wings stir the air around you. If you cannot be there physically, picture her home in your mind and surround it with light. Imagine every wall glowing. Imagine the roof crowned with fire from heaven. This is not fantasy. What you see in faith will be built in the unseen realm. The shadow will wait for unguarded hours. If you leave her uncovered, spiritually or emotionally, even for a night, it will take its chance. Stay alert. If she crosses your mind suddenly in the middle of the day, or if you wake in the night thinking of her, do not dismiss it. That is not coincidence. It is a signal. Pray for her instantly. Even a few words will cause the enemy to retreat. The shadow studies her patterns. It knows the moments she feels most alone, the subjects that make her voice grow quiet, the memories that bring tears to her eyes. These are the places it will aim first. You must fill those weak points before it gets there. Spend time with her in those vulnerable moments. Change the routine. Make her laugh where she would normally be silent. Replace the memory with something brighter. Michael's tone softens but becomes even more piercing. Do you understand what this means? This is not just about protecting her from one night of fear. This is about guarding the light inside her for the rest of her life. If she wins this battle, the enemy will lose interest. But if she loses it, the shadow will mark her and return again and again. He leans in, his eyes fierce. You are the difference between those two futures. The shadow is not afraid of her alone, but it is afraid of her when you are standing beside her. The countdown tightens. The ticking clock you've been hearing grows faster. Michael says, "We are already moving toward the hour. There is less time now than when you began hearing my voice. Act immediately. Do not delay until tomorrow. Begin the words, the sealing, the watching, the guarding, tonight. If you do, you will not only stop this attack, you will break a chain the enemy has been trying to place on your family for years." His voice rises like a final call. Do not waste this warning. Do not wait to see proof. By the time proof arrives, the battle will already be inside your walls. The moment you begin, I will stand with you. My sword will guard her. My presence will fill her home. But I cannot fight this without you. Say yes now, and we move.
Archangel Michael says, I have shown you the danger. I have told you the steps. But now I will show you the ending. Both endings. The first vision. If you act. You see your mother sitting in the same familiar place. The clock shows the same hour from my earlier vision. At first, everything is as I described. The stillness, the sudden drop in the temperature, the subtle shift in the air. The shadow approaches. It reaches the edge of the light around her, but this time it cannot pass. Why? Because earlier, before this hour, you stood and covered her in light. You spoke words that now echo in her spirit like a living shield. You are not alone. You are stronger than fear. I am here. As the shadow tries to whisper its lies, her mind is filled instead with the sound of your voice, the truth you planted there. Her breathing stays steady. Her shoulders remain strong. She glances toward the door, as if sensing something, but instead of fear, peace settles over her. The light around her grows brighter. The shadow pulls back, retreating into the corners where it once had power. You see it shudder as if the very space rejects it. And then it's gone. Michael says, in this ending, she is safe. Her peace is unbroken, and the enemy learns it cannot touch what you guard. The second vision, if you delay. The same room, the same clock, the same stillness. But this time, there is no barrier. The words were never spoken. The space was never sealed. She faces this hour unguarded. The shadow slips in quietly, not through the door or the window, but through the silence, through the absence of your presence. It begins to wrap around her thoughts like smoke. Her eyes grow distant. She sets down what she's holding and clasps her hands tightly, as though holding herself together. The whisper begins. No one sees you. You're on your own. It's too late to fix anything now. Tears form, but she doesn't call for help. She believes no one would answer. The weight on her chest grows heavier until she can barely breathe. Michael says, in this ending, the enemy wins a foothold. He does not need to destroy her all at once, only to plant enough hopelessness that she stops fighting back. And once that seed is planted, it will grow. The turning point. Michael's voice cuts through both visions. This is the moment your choice matters. Heaven is ready to fight with you. I am ready to stand guard over her. But I cannot create the first vision without your action. The difference between these two endings is not luck. It is not chance. It is you. Your words, your presence, your willingness to move before the hour strikes. The countdown tightens again. You hear the ticking clock, only now it's faster, louder, urgent. Michael says, we are not speaking of days anymore. We are speaking of hours. Every delay pushes her closer to the second ending. Every action pulls her closer to the first. He steps forward, eyes like fire. So I ask you now, which ending will you write? Will you let the shadow take her in silence? Or will you rise and surround her in light so bright that the enemy cannot stay?
Archangel Michael says, I have shown you the danger. I have told you the steps. But now I will show you the ending. Both endings. The first vision, if you act. You see your mother sitting in the same familiar place. The clock shows the same hour from my earlier vision. At first, everything is as I described. The stillness, the sudden drop in temperature, the subtle shift in the air. The shadow approaches. It reaches the edge of the light around her, but this time it cannot pass. Why? Because earlier, before this hour, you stood and covered her in light. You spoke words that now echo in her spirit like a living shield. You are not alone. You are stronger than fear. I am here. As the shadow tries to whisper its lies,
Her mind is filled instead with the sound of your voice, the truth you planted there. Her breathing stays steady. Her shoulders remain strong. She glances toward the door as if sensing something. But instead of fear, peace settles over her. The light around her grows brighter. The shadow pulls back, retreating into the corners where it once had power. You see it shudder as if the very space rejects it. And then, it's gone. Archangel Michael says, in this ending, she is safe. Her peace is unbroken. And the enemy learns it cannot touch what you guard. The second vision, if you delay. The same room, the same clock, the same stillness, but this time there is no barrier. The words were never spoken. The space was never sealed. She faces this hour unguarded. The shadow slips in quietly, not through the door or the window, but through the silence, through the absence of your presence. It begins to wrap around her thoughts like smoke. Her eyes grow distant. She sets down what she's holding and clasps her hands tightly as though holding herself together. The whisper begins. No one sees you. You're on your own. It's too late to fix anything now. Tears form, but she doesn't call for help. She believes no one would answer. The weight on her chest grows heavier until she can barely breathe. Archangel Michael says, in this ending, the enemy wins a foothold. He does not need to destroy her all at once, only to plant enough hopelessness that she stops fighting back. And once that seed is planted, it will grow. The turning point. Michael's voice cuts through both visions. This is the moment your choice matters. Heaven is ready to fight with you. I am ready to stand guard over her. But I cannot create the first vision without your action. The difference between these two endings is not luck. It is not chance. It is you. Your words, your presence, your willingness to move before the hour strikes. The countdown tightens again. You hear the ticking clock, only now it's faster, louder, urgent. Michael says, we are not speaking of days anymore. We are speaking of hours. Every delay pushes her closer to the second ending. Every action pulls her closer to the first. He steps forward, eyes like fire. So I ask you now, which ending will you write? Will you let the shadow take her in silence? Or will you rise and surround her in light so bright the enemy cannot stay?
Archangel Michael says, the moment you spoke, I felt it. It was not just a word. It was a strike. It was as if lightning cut through the air between where you stood and where she sat. In the vision, I saw your mother's posture change instantly. Her shoulders, which had been bent under an unseen weight, straightened. Her breathing, once shallow and quick, slowed as if the invisible hands pressing against her chest had been ripped away. The room, the same familiar place where moments ago a cold presence lurked, began to shift. It started with the smallest detail. The air itself felt lighter. The heaviness clinging to the corners dissolved. The shadows on the wall seemed to retreat, as though they had lost permission to be there. Then the light came.
It was not sunlight, not lamplight, but something far greater. It filled the space with a warmth that wrapped around her like an embrace she could not see but could deeply feel. I saw her glance around, confused, not frightened, but trying to understand why peace had arrived so suddenly. And then, the bridge I told you about, I saw it again. Only now it was steady. The shaking had stopped. The shadow, once advancing, was now shrinking backward, its form unraveling into nothingness, as though it had been exposed to a fire it could not endure. It tried to resist. It tried to whisper again, but the words came out broken, powerless. And in that instant, it was cast away, far beyond her reach. Michael says, I looked to your mother then, and I saw her smile. Not a casual smile, but the kind that comes when a heart remembers it is not alone. She did not know you were the one who had stood in that gap for her, but heaven knew, I knew. I saw her hands begin to move. She reached for something, a book, a necklace, a memory, something sacred to her, something that reminded her of light. And she held it as though it had been returned to her after being missing for years. And I tell you, that night, her sleep was untouched. Not a single shadow dared to approach again. The room remained guarded, sealed, encircled by presence stronger than anything on earth. But there was one more thing in the vision, something you must hear. As she slept, I saw you, not in your body, but in spirit, standing at the doorway of her room. You were clothed in light, holding a sword that was not made of steel, but of words and fire. And behind you, countless others stood, angels waiting, guarding. The shadow never returned. Do you see now, Michael says, this is why you were chosen to hear this warning. This is why you were shown what could happen before it happened. Because when you act in faith, you rewrite the ending. You turn darkness into testimony. And when the morning came, I saw her rise, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. She did not know that a battle had been fought for her in the night, but she walked into her day under victory's banner. That is the power you carried. That is the power you released. And heaven will not forget it.
Do not mistake this for the end. I know you feel the relief now, that weight gone, the peace restored, but I must tell you what I have seen. Shadows do not accept defeat quietly. When they are cast out, they do not vanish forever. They retreat. And in that retreat, they begin to plan. In the vision, after the light had filled your mother's room, after the shadow had been stripped of its grip, I followed its trail. It did not dissolve completely, not yet. It slipped into the corners of the night, like smoke searching for a crack. It wandered, but not aimlessly. I saw it descend into a place not made of walls or streets, but of whispers and schemes, a gathering point where other shadows waited. They spoke without sound, yet I understood every word. She is protected now, one of them hissed, but there are other doors. They began to remember. Every fear she had ever carried, every moment of grief she had ever endured, every weakness they thought they could exploit. Michael says, it was like watching thieves gather outside a locked house, searching for an unguarded window. They spoke of waiting, of biding their time, until the light around her seemed ordinary, until the warmth felt like a memory, until her guard dropped. And then they turned their attention to you. Yes, you.
They spoke your name, not in reverence, but in anger, because they knew who had stood in the doorway that night. They knew whose words had sealed the room. "If we cannot take her, we will shake them," one of them said. "We will turn their focus away. We will make them doubt. We will make them delay next time." That is when I understood. The battle for her was won, but the war for you had just begun. Michael says, "I saw them try to follow you, not in the way you would notice with your eyes, but in the way thoughts arrive uninvited. A sudden heaviness in your day, a distraction when you are about to pray, a whisper that says, 'It's not your responsibility anymore.' All of these seeds, small, quiet, but planted with the intent to grow into hesitation. Because if they can make you hesitate next time, even for a moment, the window opens again. That is why I am telling you this before it happens. Because there will come a day soon, sooner than you expect, when you will feel a sudden heaviness again. It will seem like nothing at first, but that will be the signal. When you feel it, you must act as quickly as you did this time, faster if possible, because the shadow will try to move again, not toward your mother, but toward something else you love. I do not show you this to frighten you," Michael says. "I show you this so you will not be caught unaware. The same way you turned this battle, you can turn the next one, but only if you refuse to believe the lie that your part is over." And in the vision's final moments, I saw something strange. You were standing in a field, and in your hand was the same sword of light you carried before. But this time its blade was longer, brighter, and you were not alone. There were others beside you, holding their own swords, looking to you to signal to strike. It was then I knew the enemy's plan to break you would fail, but only if you remember this night and never forget what your voice can do. Stay ready, Michael says. The next warning will come faster than you think.
Archangel Michael says, "The enemy's silence is not peace, it is preparation." After the last vision faded, I found myself in a place between night and dawn, a strange stillness where the air carried both the scent of rain and the echo of thunder yet to come. It was here that I saw the beginning of the next move. Not loud, not violent, subtle, patient, calculated. A narrow path stretched before me, lined with trees that bent inward as though trying to hide what lay ahead. And there, halfway down the path, I saw a door. It was not a door made for a house. It stood alone, without walls, without a frame, yet it pulsed faintly, a heartbeat of dim red light from the gap beneath it. I approached, and that's when I heard them again, the shadows from before. But this time their whispers were slower, almost like they were chanting. "She is watched, she is guarded, but there are others, always others." I realized they were no longer focused entirely on your mother. They were casting their sight outward, searching for someone else connected to you, someone who might not be as shielded. And then they found it. Through that strange, freestanding door, I saw flashes. A face. Familiar, but younger. Eyes that carried both innocence and burden. A hand reaching for something, but before it could grasp it, the image was swallowed by shadow. Michael says, I recognized them immediately. This is someone you love, someone whose life intersects with yours in ways you may not even see yet. And they are next. The shadows began weaving something in the darkness, not a direct attack, but a net made of situations, temptations, and delays. Not to strike quickly, but to tangle slowly until escape seems impossible. They spoke of time again. We will not rush this one. We will let the days pass until they forget the last battle, until the urgency fades, until they believe all is well, and then we will move. I tried to step forward, to cross through the door and break the net before it was finished, but something stopped me. A presence stronger than my own hand pressed against my chest. Not yet, a voice said. It was not the enemy. It was the one I serve. The watchman must be awake before the attack. Tell them now, while there is still distance between the shadow and its prey. That is why I am here, before the moment, before the scream, before the fear. So that when the first sign comes, you will know it instantly. Archangel Michael says, you will know it by this. The next time you speak to them, the person you just saw in your heart as I spoke, their eyes will hold a tiredness they will not admit. They will smile, but it will not reach the soul. That will be the signal. And when that signal comes, you must move quickly, not with fear, but with authority. You must speak the same words that broke the shadow before, because the net is only strong if it is allowed to tighten. Break it before it closes. In the final moments of the vision, I saw you standing before that strange door again, but this time you were not alone. Your mother was beside you, her hand on your shoulder, light surrounding her like a shield. She had been the one in danger before, but now she was standing as your ally, ready to fight with you. Do not underestimate this. This is not just another battle. This is a link in the chain. Break it here, and you will weaken everything that follows. Ignore it, and the chain will grow stronger. I left that place between night and dawn with one final instruction ringing in my spirit. Watch the eyes, hear the silence, and be ready to speak before the first cry for help is heard.
Archangel Michael says, it has begun. The stillness I warned you about has broken. The air that once felt heavy with waiting now vibrates with movement. Not the movement of life, but of something crawling, advancing, closing in. It started in the smallest way. Not a scream, not a crash, just a shift. like a temperature drop so slight that you question if you felt it at all. But in the spirit, I saw it clearly. From the line of trees that bordered that strange, lonely path, the shadows began to slide forward, no longer whispering from a distance, but breathing on the very edges of the light. Their voices had changed. No more slow chants. Now they were fast, eager, like hunters in sight of their prey. They are ready. They are tired. They will not fight. They will not see us. And through the free-standing door, the one pulsing with red light, I saw the one from my last warning, the face you know, the one whose eyes would carry the signal. They were there, sitting alone, staring at nothing, and just as I told you, the smile they wore was hollow. That was the sign. But even as I stepped forward, something else happened. The light around them flickered, not because it was weak, but because someone else was near, someone they trusted, someone they thought was safe. And yet this person's shadow stretched longer than it should. Michael says, this is how they work, not always through strangers, but through those whose doors are already open. I saw the scene unfold in two layers, one in the natural, one in the unseen. In the natural, it was just a conversation. In the unseen, it was the tightening of the net. Every word from this safe person was a thread, soft enough to seem harmless, but strong enough to bind. And the more they listened, the heavier their spirit became. I tried to break through immediately, but the red light from the door flared, and I realized this was no ordinary shadow. This was a sentinel. Not the ones that hunt, but the ones that guard the prison before it is even built. It stepped forward, massive, faceless, its chest marked with the same sigil I saw in the vision about your mother, a black circle with a single unbroken line cutting through the center. This one will not escape, it said, in a voice that rattled the ground. And for the first time in all these visions, I felt the air press back against me. This was not just a battle of strength. This was a battle of permission. If they could convince this person to surrender, even in thought, then the sentinel wouldn't need to fight. Michael says, that is why I came to you. You must speak now, before they agree with the lie in their mind. If you wait, the sentinel will seal the door, and you will have to fight from the other side. The urgency in his voice grew sharper. You will not get two chances. The next words you speak to them must be words that cut, not comfort, words that pierce through the veil they are being wrapped in. I saw you, in this vision, dialing their number. Your hands were trembling, not because you feared them, but because you felt the weight of what hung on your voice. And then, right before they answered, I heard it, a sound behind you, a breath that did not belong to you. When I turned, I saw something that froze even me for a moment. The sentinel was no longer at the door. It was standing behind you. It had left them for now to stop you. The moment I moved toward it, the vision snapped like glass breaking in water, and all I could hear was Michael's final words echoing in the silence. The net is nearly closed. You have seconds, not minutes, and the one who needs saving is not as far from you as you think.
The sentinel has turned to you. This is no longer about your mother alone. It is about your obedience.
The air around you doesn't just chill, it thickens. Like the atmosphere itself has weight, pressing against your chest, slowing your movements, making every breath feel earned. In the vision, I see you standing in a narrow hallway. No windows, no doors you can use, just that single stretch of shadow behind you, and within it, the sentinel. It's taller now, its shape almost scraping the unseen ceiling above, its form flickering between armor and shadow, between something solid and something that could pass through walls. Its faceless head tilts slightly, as though studying you, deciding if you're worth speaking to or simply removing. And then it speaks. The voice doesn't come from a mouth. It comes from inside your skull, vibrating in your bones. You interfere in what you do not understand. She was already ours. Her steps have been ordered for years. You will not undo them. You try to speak, but your throat locks. This isn't fear, it's suppression. Something about the Sentinel's presence is designed to strip away your voice, because your voice carries authority it cannot allow to be used. Michael says it knows the power of a command spoken in faith. That is why it attacks your ability to speak before it attacks your body. The sentinel turns its faceless head toward Michael and lets out a sound, not a roar, not a scream, but the grinding of 1,000 stones collapsing. The walls tremble, the ground beneath you cracks, and then it lunges. It does not run. It folds space. One moment it is far, the next, its massive shadowed arm is swinging toward Michael with the force to shatter mountains. Michael meets it mid-strike. The clash is not sound, it's impact in the spirit. A shockwave rips through the hallway, throwing you back against the unseen wall. The light from Michael's blade cuts into the sentinel's chest, right through the seal, and for the first time you hear it cry out. The sound is awful, like wind being ripped from the lungs of something ancient and furious. Black light, yes, light, pours from the wound, spraying across the ground like liquid shadow. Michael shouts, "Now! Speak it!" Your voice returns in a rush, the words bursting out of you without thought, words you did not plan, but were placed in your mouth. By the authority of the King I serve, you have no claim. Release her now and depart. The sentinel recoils. The seal on its chest splinters like glass, shards of black spinning into the air and dissolving. Its form begins to unravel, not in smoke, but in strips, as though pieces of it are being erased from existence. And then it is gone. The hallway remains, but it feels different now. The air is lighter, the space shorter. At the far end, the freestanding red-lit door stands wide open. Beyond it, the one you came to save. But they are not alone. Two smaller shadows linger at their feet, looking up at you with eyes like coals. Michael says quietly, "The battle is not over. The sentinel was only the gatekeeper. Now you face the ones who built the gate."
Archangel Michael says, "The door is open, but you have not yet entered the room where the real battle will be decided. Beyond this threshold there are no half measures. Either you free her completely, or you will lose her forever. You step toward the freestanding red-lit doorway. Its frame looks like wood, but the closer you get, the more you see it's alive. Veins, yes, veins pulse faintly beneath its surface, as though the door itself feeds on those who try to pass. The air inside the frame seems thicker, shimmering like heat. Michael grips your shoulder. His eyes are not the calm gold you've seen before. They're fierce, almost burning. When you cross this line, the architects will know you've come. They will not hold back. Neither must you. You nod. Your hand brushes the edge of the doorway. It's warm, and then searing, as if branding you with the cost of entry. You step through. The room beyond is wrong. The walls don't stay still. They ripple like black water, stretching and shrinking. The floor is smooth stone, wet as if it's been rained on, but the droplets roll upward toward the ceiling instead of down. At the far end, your mother stands on a circular platform of pale stone, her head bowed, hands bound by chains of lightless metal. The chains aren't just holding her, they're draining her. With every pulse, a flicker of her life force drifts into the shadows above her head. And then you see them. Two tall figures, one on either side of the platform. Both are cloaked, not in fabric, but in flowing smoke that hides everything but their hands. Their hands are pale, long-fingered, nails blackened like obsidian. In their palms, they each hold a single burning coal. The only source of light in the room, and it's a sickly, choking red. "We wondered how long it would take you," one says, voice echoing like it's spoken from behind you. "The sentinel should have been enough." The other tilts its head. "But perhaps this will be entertaining." Michael's voice booms from behind you. "These are not like the sentinel. They are older. They do not simply guard, they own. You will not defeat them by striking alone." The cloaked figures lift their coals, and the light in the room dies even further. The chains around your mother's hands tighten, drawing a pained gasp from her. You feel it in your bones, a rage you didn't know you had flaring up. You step forward. "Let her go!" The left figure laughs, low and sharp. "She's ours by agreement, signed and sealed in moments of weakness you cannot undo." The right one adds, "You think you can break years of claim in a single word?" Michael's hand tightens on his sword. "Yes," he says, stepping up beside you, "if that word is spoken in the name they fear." The two figures move, not walking, gliding, so fast that the smoke around them twists like torn fabric in a storm. They circle you, voices coming from every direction now. "She traded her peace for survival. She called to us when no one else listened. You cannot change the past." You close your eyes, not to shut them out, but to hear the still, steady whisper beneath their noise. It is not Michael's voice this time. It is the voice that sent him. Say it. Do not argue. Do not plead. Command. You open your eyes. The red coals flare as the figures close in. Their smoke brushes your skin, freezing cold. You draw in one breath and speak not with your own strength, but with the authority you were given. "By the blood that speaks a better word, I cancel every agreement, I shatter every claim, and I declare her free in the name above every name." The reaction is instant. The coals in their hands explode, sending shards of red light across the room like sparks from a forge. The chains on your mother's hands snap and dissolve into dust before they hit the ground. The two cloaked figures scream, a sound so loud and piercing it cracks the stone beneath your feet, and their smoke is torn apart by an unseen wind. What remains of them is pulled upward into nothing, like water down a drain that has no end. Your mother collapses to her knees, breathing hard, but her eyes are clear. No shadow in them, no fog, just recognition and relief. Michael steps forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You are free," he says. Then he looks at you. "And so are you. For battles like this bind not only the captive, but the rescuer. Today you broke both chains." The walls of the room dissolve, and suddenly you are back in the hallway, but it is no longer dark. It is wide, filled with light so pure it feels like it's washing you clean. Michael turns toward the fading doorway. "This is finished, but do not forget, the enemy will seek to rewrite the agreements you just broke. Keep her close, keep watch, and remember." He steps back into the light, his form growing brighter, harder to look at, and with that, he is gone.